Hi, good morning. So I think we could start now. So hi, everyone. Wait a second. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining me on my webinar today. My name is Amiad, and I'm a business development manager here at Argentum Consultants. Today, we will talk about how to use artificial intelligence in grant applications. Our discussion today will be an interview to which I have a special guest, Mr. Ishai Shamir, who will be happy to give us his insights on this matter. A little bit about Ishai. He has an MBA with a focus in finance and a bachelor's in physics and economics from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He's also a certified paramedic. Ishai has 10 years of grant writing, proposal preparation, and project management experience with a successful proposals in various fields, as well as product management experience leading the development innovative IoT edge platform and introducing it to the market. Ishai's areas of expertise include electronics, Internet of Things, information and communication technologies, medical devices, pre-hospital medicine, marine technologies, and cybersecurity. Before we start, allow me to give you a very short brief introduction to our company. Argentum specializes in EU research and innovation non-dilutive funding. Our company was established in 1999 and has 30 employees divided into three departments: business development, strategy, and consulting. Our vision is to target funding opportunities and to enhance participation and success in multinational research and innovation projects. Argentum is aligned with the EU goals and works closely with your local NCPs in order to deepen the understandings of EU directives, guidelines, and value chains. It is Argentum's objective to become the leading expert in cooperation between overlapping technological sectors within the EU. The EU's budget for the years of 2021 to 2027 is 1.2 trillion euros, and you can see how it is distributed in this chart. We work with over 90 funding sources. The first stage of funding is choosing the call proposal. When a company chooses the grant for submission, they should consider the following criteria. The field, either bottom up, is a call that is open to all fields of technology, whereas top down would be a specific call that is aligned with the EU's agenda. They should also consider the type of funding mechanism: the European one, supported by the EU, like Horizon Europe, or bilateral, for example, a technological collaboration between two countries, or a national funding. In addition, they should consider the type of application procedure as well, whether the submission as a single applicant or as part of a collaborative project or a consortium. The choice should be made according to the company's needs and strategy, and while considering the success rate of each opportunity. Now on to our questions for Ishai. It is a pleasure having you with us today, Ishai. I'll just turn on your camera. Okay. There you go. Okay. What would you say is the EU's top interest in the field of AI?
Okay, thank you, Amiad, and thank you all for being here. Yes, let's jump right into the question. Well, the EU has a lot of interest in AI. Well, officially it claims that there is a European approach to artificial intelligence and a written strategy, and it centers around first excellence, which is clear. They want to be leaders in this field as well as leaders in as the leadership they want in other fields. But the more interesting thing is the trust. There's a lot of focus on EU strategy about how we make AI trustworthy, how we make it explainable, how we make it more adaptable for larger organizations, for national governments, for the EU by itself. Um, so and this is a very interesting approach because a lot of the funding opportunities are discussing this, as well as the actual development of AI technologies. There is another focus on how to use AI specifically in research and in expanding the industrial capacity of the European Union. You see a lot of calls for proposals around how to use AI better in research in order to develop new drugs, develop new products, find out solutions for specific problems, and also about how to use AI to increase the effectiveness of the European industry. And this is very important. And I will close the answer to this question in the fundamental rights of people, which is very important in Europe. And we will discuss this later about the basically data privacy and data protection when you use AI. This is very important that all these advancements in AI will not infringe basic rights of the European citizens and actually global citizens. So this is basically, to summarize, you want to be the best, you want it to also be explainable and trustworthy, and you want it specifically to help research and industrial effectiveness, and you want to ensure all the time that fundamental rights are preserved. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's basically what the EU really likes and puts a very big focus on. So maybe we'll go now to the second question. Okay, now tell us, please, what are the fields that incorporate AI in their technology? And what are the fields that you suggest for companies to apply for AI grants?
Okay, so the very quick answer to the first question is everything. But if we examine EU agenda, and we are all here to apply for European grants, you can see the clusters of your Horizon Europe, and you don't find any cluster that is specifically about AI. You will probably find development of new AI technologies in cluster 4, which is digital, industry, and space. So the digital part is probably where AI should be developed. But you will find a request to have some sort of artificial intelligence in all the other clusters. For example, you find it in health. There are a lot of calls in the health clusters that wants you to use AI, whether it's to repurpose existing drugs for new diseases, whether it's to predict risks, whether it's to manage health systems better, and a lot of different things. There are even specific AI for health calls in the health clusters. Now, the next cluster, the cultural clusters, also uses AI to somehow find and identify risks for the democracy, and how to increase inclusiveness of immigrants, for example, or for weakened populations in the society. AI is very common in the field in cluster 3 as well, in security. Cluster 3 is security, so you have a lot of AI there, not to mention cybersecurity, which is part of this cluster. We discussed cluster 4, but cluster 5, which is about energy, energy and mobility. You have a lot of AI for mobility applications, and some for energy management. And the last one, agriculture, natural resources and biodiversity, again, a lot of usage of AI there. So I can say this is a cross-cluster topic that can be implemented in a lot of research areas. Maybe a better question would be what fields does not incorporate AI. So maybe if you have your own lab and you are doing very traditional bioeconomy or biomedical research, you might not use AI. But again, we can find some correlations there as well, because for project management, you maybe want AI, or maybe drug discovery. So it's really endless. Okay, the next question in this slide is very important, is actually more interesting, I think. I think what you should ask yourself when you want to apply with your AI to a grant about this question about if this field is relevant for AI, you should ask yourself, is it already in use? Is it still a problem? Is it not solved yet? What am I bringing new to the market? Am I bringing dramatic innovation or something marginal? For example, if you use face recognition, you will need to work very hard to convince the readers, the evaluators, that this is new and not incremental, because we have now face recognition almost everywhere in our pockets. Just license plate recognition. This can be considered AI, and this is image processing. There are a lot of things to do about it. You have a Google library ready and free for use to do license-based recognition. So you need to think if this is innovative or not. And this goes for all grants, actually. But in AI, it's more difficult.
Okay. So in a nutshell, everything.
Yeah, everything. But the question is, if you want to apply it for a grant, you need to think twice.
Right. I know that a lot of companies do not have AI development, and that they have done, but you actually mentioned it with Google, but rather use AI technology. Would you say that there is a way to find out which companies that simply incorporate AI tech in their work, and how much have real R&D work towards the AI that they actually use within their company?
I think this question really touches the core of our conversation today. Is like which company really uses groundbreaking AI, or just doing simple integration of existing stuff. And there are a lot of ways to find out. I think the easiest way, and I think that most evaluators do that, and actually the new structure of the EAC kind of asks you to clarify this, is to see if your team has people that are specialized in AI development or AI research. If your team doesn't have it, and only wants to hire people for that in the future, then it means that you currently don't use AI, and you didn't even think about the main questions of what AI could bring to your product. So this is one way to know. There is another question I think that you should answer in most of the forms about the ownership of the tools that they're using, of open source tools. If you, for example, use Google Open License Plate Recognition library in your product, and you mention it, then it means that you are not developing it by yourself, and it means that your entire AI claims are not very grounded. Team, and let's call it team, open source, and the last thing that I would want to mention is the terminology that you use. It's very simple to say AI or machine learning. It's very simple. You can add just randomly around your application AI, and it doesn't look good. Actually, the best companies that actually use AI never use this term. They would prefer mentioned the type of algorithm that they're using, random forests or neural networks and convolutional neural networks, and a lot of them. And if you can name the terminology better and more precise, then it means that you're actually knowing what you do, and you have people that knows what they're doing, and then you can be more persuasive when you write that you're actually using AI. And so this is something that, because these are actually three things that I'm checking when I'm trying to see what are the chances that the company might have in applying for grants that are revolving around AI.
Great. So that actually leads me to the next question, which is maybe then what about companies that only use AI technologies without having development, R&D development within themselves? Do they stand a chance when applying to grants?
Yes, they do stand a chance, but they need to tell their story differently. They need to tell the story around their real strength, which is not AI. Maybe the real strength is the networking that they have in this field, or the impact that this thing will bring. And so they should not be focusing on this, or they should not apply to grants or focus and ask for real AI development. That's very important. This is something that our strategy team is really good at identifying. If your AI is impressive or not, or if they just want you to use AI. There are a lot of grants that are in the form of cascading grants that only want you to use AI for specific goals. And the bottom-up grants, they want you to show innovation. Having said that, when you apply to a bottom-up grant and you choose to tell the story that AI is not the main idea around it, but your other advantages, you should pay attention that questions about competitive edge and barriers to barriers to competition, to future competitors are almost always the best answer is the technology. And here you are taking a risk that you are claiming something else that can be achieved by competitors by other means, by simpler means. So just need to pay attention around this bit.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So my next question is there a way in which the EU can find out if a company uses AI technology and if the technology is innovative? Well, you answered it a bit in the beginning, but I would like to maybe further drill down here.
Yes, I think the interesting thing about this question is that they are really trying to use AI for that now. So they are trying to use AI to find out if your research is incremental or innovative. Incremental means that it's not very groundbreaking, and really innovative means that it's groundbreaking. There are I don't know what types of algorithms they use, but they create, but they do try to make it trustworthy, as they say, because they kind of give you this map of connections and how far you from previous research that was found innovative by others. But again, this is just well, it's really starting. This is not something that they rely on, and they use evaluators for that. People that can be impressed by things that you say, and they could be not impressed by the thing that you say, and you need to kind of write it the way that will apply to most types of evaluators. And the tips that I said before are relevant, and other tips are also important.
Okay. Could you tell us, please, what are the EU funding opportunities available for companies in the field of AI?
Well, as I said, everything, and it really depends on what is your area, what you apply your AI for. And first of all, for everything you have bottom-up calls. You have uh, you have EAC Accelerator, you have your national funding, you have Eurostars, you have a lot of others that are fully bottom-up, and you can apply for everything. And then you can look by the field that you want in this cluster of Horizon Europe. There are interesting clusters, collaborative projects, calls for collaborative projects under Eureka that are specifically targeting AI. There are several each year. That you can look them up as well, and once in a while you can have new programs that are popping up. New program, Digital Europe, with deadline. First calls have been just out last month, and with deadline in February. It's not too late to join them. Actually develop the core AI capabilities of Europe. Very interesting stuff, very innovative, nice. So this is Digital Europe, and I think that this is about it. The European Defence Fund have some AI things, and it really depends on what your application is.
Okay, thank you. Maybe my next question will be a bit more about the regulation side and aspect. But what are the matters that stand in terms of data and privacy protection with regards to the GDPR of the company applying for the grant?
Yes, so this is, as I mentioned before, one of the it's part of the European strategy for AI, and this is very important. It's more important when you deal with children or with medical data, but you must have some sort of claim of how you are complying with GDPR, with your new development, and this has to be thought through. You need to know the rules, and you need to see how you are not overruling them. And if you don't know the rules, you might as well put it as a task to test it, but it's really best if you know it. There is an actual new there's actual new questions for almost all grants that are going through Europe in the ethics section, and specifically about AI, that are now added to the proposal. So everyone has to answer whether they have some privacy risk in the project or not, and really pay attention to it.
Okay, thank you. You actually mentioned this earlier on, but maybe what would you say is the difference between, in your opinion, between AI or artificial intelligence and machine learning, ML?
I tell you the answer, I don't know. Because I've been speaking with a lot of really high prestigious researchers of both AI and machine learning, and also you can add to this question deep learning, and you can add a lot of new terms for that, and I think that well, you see, the most professional way to write it is AI and ML together. But I think the most important is that you'll be consistent. If you chose to write AI, you should be consistent and write the AI through the entire document. And if you write machine learning, you should write machine learning, because no one agrees what are the main differences. A lot of people have a lot of theories of what are the differences and what is better and what is newer, but you don't know if your evaluator knows these differences. So you should just maintain your consistency and don't switch. That's the most important thing.
Okay, so thank you. What would you say that Argentum? Would you say that Argentum has systematic methodology for writing grants for AI companies?
Well, this is part of how you crystallize your innovation. And this is relevant for all grants, but it is more important when you apply to AI grants because it is less clearer what your innovation is when you apply for, when you deal with data, compared to when you deal with drug development or energy or batteries. They always, you can always say what your technology is, but when you do AI, then the technology mixes up with the application and the innovative and the technological innovation is almost as the same as the functional innovation, and you need to really think of what is innovative about this. So our methodology is to go deeper, always ask more questions until we are satisfied. And this is important to do when we first begin. When someone tells us AI, we need to ask him a lot of questions. Why do you need AI? Do you have proof that you need AI? Does AI improve your results? Is it working? Do you have the people? All of these questions. And then we need to ask him and be very tough about it. Why is your AI different than others? And when you find this little thing that makes you different, we need to put it on top, on the title. And then we are not just doing AI for mobility, we are doing this very interesting thing that we find when we dug deep for mobility. And that's more impressive. And then you get a more impressive image from the get-go when the evaluator starts to read the proposal. So this is a bit of our methodology.
So to dig until we find the core, and then to bring the core to the
yeah. But the core can be a very small thing, and sometimes we need to inflate the core and put it the target, because this is the most interesting stuff.
Okay. Yeah, maybe, okay, so maybe for my last question, given your long-standing expertise of over a decade in the field of grant writing, do you think that AI could one day replace the consultants who write the grant proposals?
I think it will take a lot of time until this will be an actual thing that works. It will happen, but not in the next 10 years, I hope. I think there are a lot of things that, well, some people write AI is working on previous data. So they try to write your proposal based on something that was in the past. But when you discuss innovation, you talk about the future, you bring in something new. And that's where AI will probably fail unless someone develops something this impressive.
Okay. So thank you very much, Ishai, for all your answers. I'll talk a little now about how all this works with Argentum's offer. Okay, before sharing you with the real value, which is beyond the funding, I would like to pose a few different funding opportunities that are available for the AI industry. The funding mechanism differs across funding opportunities, and the budget per project differs according to each program. On the slide, you can see the bottom-up opportunities, which are general and open for all kinds of technological innovations. The Eurostars program and the EIC Pathfinder accept a participation methodology of a consortium, whereas the EIC Accelerator allow for single participants. You can see the budget of each of these opportunities has. It is highly important to understand the value beyond the funding, beyond just the financial aspect of it. For one, EU-funded projects are facilitators of good collaborations. They immensely help to bridge gaps of other partners, especially from different European states. This also opens the path to collaboration in research, including external performance review. Horizon Europe and by extension, all the funding opportunities of the EU, are highly competitive and prestigious programs, which would raise the rating of any company that wins their grants. As to what we have to offer, we know that the abundance of funding opportunities out there can become challenging to navigate because of the complexity that is part of the submission process. In addition to many details and guidelines that vary the different guidelines of every funding opportunity has. We have developed a unique methodology to increase our clients' access to funding while minimizing their efforts. We call this our multi-submission approach, which is in a nutshell says, submit to one, submit to all. By following this method of submission, our strategists and consultants are able to get a firmer grasp of the activity of your company, especially the technological part. This allows us to write better submission proposals because we gain more depth and knowledge. Moreover, as a submitting company, which will apply to various opportunities, you will have less to work with, be it financially or in terms of manpower, because we will work with your technology and tailor it to fit multiple proposal calls. Lastly, this method immensely raises your chances of winning grants. I will give you a moment to take a look at the procedure and process from the strategist's point of view within our company. And maybe continue from here to the proposal preparation. This slide offers an overview of our proposal preparation process. The initial step starts with a kickoff meeting, which is followed by a work of a strategist who is in charge of finding proposal calls that are relevant to your activity of your company. This then moves on to the second stage, which is consolidate a consortium if the program requires more than one participant. Otherwise, the process goes on to coordination process, which is done by our development team. Finally, it reaches the consultants who write the proposals and submit it online after the revision of a team leader. It is important to point out that the process is always adaptable. As a long-term client, we are always on the lookout for new publications and opportunities that open up and that are within the inner strategy of your company. I would like to conclude this webinar, first of all, by thanking Ishai again for taking his time to answer all my questions. AI does have the tendency to be an overused term that tech companies incorporate in grant applications. I'm glad that we have had this chance to talk to Ishai and understand some of the pros and cons that are associated with this term. Secondly, I would like to point out the importance of having a consultant that comes and writes the grant proposal in general, but more so if the company uses AI or has its own AI innovation. The more complex the technology, the more there's a need to have an expert whose job is to gain a deep understanding of the innovation in order to manage great flow in writing and to ensure the grant proposal will have a high quality in which will raise the chances of obtaining non-dilutive funding for any company. Lastly, later today, our marketing team will send a follow-up email with a list of questions. Please answer as many of them as you can so we can properly evaluate your company and recommend an appropriate program for your activities. I look forward to hearing from you and thank you for your time today. Have a nice day and a happy new year.